Miss Macy, you are muted.
Oh, sorry. Okay, there. Thank you so much. Good afternoon and welcome to this forum titled Designing Equitable Assessment for Multilingual Learners of Purposive Communication. This is one of the major requirements for our online course, Social Linguistics of English Education 2.0, or Seed for Change, focus on assessment, offered by the Ateneo Center for English Language Teaching, or ASAT. This is the third and last of a series of fora today. Just a few house rules before we start. Okay, so mga paalala. So first is keep your mic na naka-mute unless you're asked to speak. Two, turn on your camera if possible para mas engaging ang session. Three, use the chat box for your questions and keep all comments respectful. Four, stay in a quiet place para iwas background noise. Five, participate actively sa Q&A. Six, do not record the session unless may permission from the organizers. And please stay hanggang matapos for announcements and closing instructions. So let us start by asking for guidance and inspiration from the Lord towards the success of this forum. JMP.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فقال ربكم ادعوني أستجب لكم آمين يا رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين اللهم اجمع شمل المسلمين والكريستيان واللومد في مدينة دباو وسلم دائما مجتمعنا هذا بالسلم والأمن والتقدم في بلدنا هذا آمين يا رب العالمين ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على خير خلقه سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين يا رب العالمين.
In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you today to praise and worship you and give you thanks for all the things you continue to provide for ourselves and our families. Father, we humbly ask for forgiveness for all the times we have offended you, when we forget to acknowledge your presence in the image of our brothers and sisters, and for moments we fail to be good stewards of the blessings you have given us. Continue to guide and protect each one of us, Lord, that we may always walk in the light of your everlasting love and mercy. Grant us, Father, with your comfort in times of distress and with your strength in times of weakness. Bestow upon us your unending grace and healing, that we may in turn become instruments of gentleness and compassion to others. We ask all this in the name of your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, with the prayer and the intercession of our Blessed Mother. Amen.
Manama, mawantog ka. Warag po ko iling ko'y ko. O Diyos, kahibulungan ka. Busa ikaw lang ang simbahon ko. Busa ikaw lang ang alagaran ko.
Thank you, JM. So, iba rin po talagang itong Seed 2.0, no? Dinaanan siya ng tatlo lamang na bagyo. Opong, Tino, and Uwan, which delayed our start, ruined one of our consultative meetings, postponed our final discussions, and canceled our final synchronous session. But here we are, surviving the challenges, persevering in our desire to be better in our professions. This afternoon, we hope to share what we have learned through the guidance of our mentors, through reflecting on our own practices, through asking deeper, perhaps uncomfortable questions. Through this forum, our group of discussants, composed of college English teachers in various universities and colleges across Luzon, wish to investigate a topic we found common to us and from where we can start making the changes called for by SEED. And so we zeroed in on this topic, designing equitable assessment for multilingual learners of purposive communication. Allow me now to introduce our team. From Region 1, standing 5 feet 7 inches, joke lang, may hangover. Hailing from Region 1, we have Miss Louie Hazel Aquino, or Miss Louie, from Mariano Marcos State University, Ilocos Region. She is proficient in Ilocano, Filipino, and English. Ma'am Louie?
Good afternoon po, naimbag abigat, naimbag amalem tayo amin. That's good afternoon in Ilocano.
Thank you. From Region 4A, Mr. Joshua Heriberto Miguel Llanos, or Sir Jem, from Laguna State Polytechnic University. He is proficient in Tagalog and English. Sir Jem?
Hello po, good afternoon po at magandang hapon po sa ating lahat.
Thank you. And then from Region 5, tatlo kaming Bicolano dito. From two different provinces. We have Miss Sherilyn Santa Ana, or Miss Che, from Calabanga Community College, Calabanga Province of Camarines Sur. She is proficient in Bicol, Calabanga variety, Filipino, and English. Ma'am Che?
Marahil na hapon po, magandang hapon and good afternoon.
Okay, thank you. We also have Mr. John Michael Manjares, or Sir JM, from Bicol University, Legazpi City, in the province of Albay. Proficient in Bicol Ligao variety, Filipino, and English. Sir JM?
Hello po, Marialdo sa inyo nga amin. That's good afternoon, everybody. Hello.
Good afternoon. Thank you. And then there's myself, Maria Celina Eladia G. Meneses, Macy for short, also from Bicol University, also Albayano, proficient in Bicol Legazpi. So in one province alone, ang dami naming varieties. No, my variety is different from Sir JM's. I have the Bicol Legazpi variety. I'm not so proficient in Filipino, but also proficient in English. Maghay na hapon po sa Indugabos. We welcome you all to this forum and we thank you for taking time out for us this afternoon. Joining us, of course, are our mentors, Dr. Cecilia A. Suarez, a faculty of the Ateneo de Manila University and the Executive Director of ASOT. And of course, Dr. Ruwani F. Tupas from the University College London, our primary resource person. We would like also to acknowledge our participants. We have, of course, our SEED classmates. Thank you for the support. We have some colleagues from our respective schools, our students. Some students from my multilingualism and multiculturalism class are here. Pasend naman ang hearts dyan. Same with the students of my teammates here. We invited also some graduate students from our schools. I hope they were able to join us. Maybe request later on for you to fill out the registration that we will share later in the chat box para may resibo naman kami kung sino yung nag-attend this afternoon. Also with it, we will ask your evaluation of this activity, no? Para isahan na lang, we will just have you fill out the form later on. We will also be providing certificates of participation through your email address, so make sure that you put that in there. As already mentioned, the 5 of us are college English teachers, all of whom have taught or are currently teaching purposive communication, a general education course in college. Finding this as our common ground, we sought to explore our own teaching assessment practices and talk about it here today in the context of the reading, issues, challenges, and future directions for multilingual assessment by Yang Ting Wang and Shikun Lee, and guided by our readings and discussions in our SEED 2.0 course. Before we go to our questions, let's all be clear on the context of our topic. And so I'd like to call on Sir Jem to kindly give us a brief backgrounder on purposive communication. Sir Jem, please.
Hello po. So thank you so much, Ma'am Macy. And to ground our discussion or today's discussion for purposive communication, I have here the course description as outlined in the CMO number 20, series of 2013, with a course description. Purposive communication is about writing, speaking, and presenting to different audiences and for various purposes. Moreover, purposive communication is a 3-unit course that develops students' communicative competence and enhances their cultural and intercultural awareness through multimodal tasks that provide them opportunities for communicating effectively and appropriately to a multicultural audience in a local or global context. It also equips students with tools for critical evaluation of a variety of texts and focuses on the power of language and the impact of images to emphasize the importance of conveying messages responsibly. The knowledge, skills, and insights the student gain from this course may be used in other academic endeavors, their chosen disciplines, and their future careers as they compose and produce relevant oral, written, and audiovisual and/or web-based output for various purposes. So that is the grounding that we have for our discussion later on how to design equitable assessments for the course of purposive communication. Thank you po.
Thank you so much, Sir Jem. That puts everyone on the same page of what we are about to tackle. You see, as we prepared for this forum, we tried to self-investigate and ask ourselves certain questions. And now we would like you to join us in this conversation about our assessment practices when we teach the subject and how we might improve on them, having learned what we have learned from SEED 2.0. So the questions. Okay. So these are actually the questions that we will be asking. What are our current assessment practices in purposive communication? How can we design purposive communication assessments that align with real-world language use while still supporting students' English learning goals? What challenges do teachers face when implementing equitable assessments for multilingual learners, especially in purposive communication? And what institutional or classroom-based strategies can help address these challenges? So let me now ask the first question. Okay. What are our current assessment practices in purposive communication? Yes, Sir JM, you may start. Okay, but let this be a free-flowing conversation, no? So anyone may just come in and keep the ball rolling. Okay.
Okay, magandang hapon po muli sa lahat. This is Sir JM. Right now, purposive communication actually for me is considered to be like multidisciplinary na rin because we do not just simply teach the course, okay, as letting the students be capable of simply having an idea of making them a competitive speaker, for example, of English language per se. So ngayon, para sa akin, mainly ang nagiging practices ko, because right now for this semester, nagtuturo ako ng purposive communication. I try to apply lots of different strategies, not just only the traditional pen and paper. But ganon, hindi pa rin siya nawawala. But generally, traditional pen and paper in different kinds of performance tasks are being utilized in that purposive communication class. Okay, so for example, I always have this classroom oral discussion, such as participation in Q&A, or there are like a Socratic method, the traditional Socratic method that whenever there is like what do you call this? Parang classroom discussion. I keep on asking questions, and students are actually free to give their answers. And for another example, I also practice reaction paper and discussion forum. Usually, ang dami natin dito, most especially here in Bicol region, ang dami namin suspension of classes. So we really utilize different online platforms such as Classroom or Google Classroom. So I usually post questions that is open for discussion and forum. And they're giving their own assumptions to the given set of problems, for example. And then, so major examinations are also present, like the midterm exams and then final examinations. And ang hindi nawawala sa types of questions ko actually, and these are really hard to remove. Although we've learned in this course that this is something like a colonial kind of perspective or ideology na we implicitly apply. Actually, I just realized that in this particular short course. Katulad ng multiple choice questions, true or false, identification, fill in the blank, essay, matching type, definition of terms. So these are all kinds of exams that I usually incorporate doon sa mga pen and paper exams, so usually for midterms and time. And then I also ask my students to prepare a short presentations at times on a given prompt. Okay, short hit, for example, or role playing as a form of performance task. Then there are times that I also ask them to analyze. I will be giving them story and then try to analyze them. So stop nyo na lang ako, classmates, just since I've been sharing a lot. Okay, and then there are also like song interpretations, and then creating content such as blogs, and then vlogs, and then memes, for example. So, I try to incorporate multimedia and then digital kind of assessment practices. I usually ask them, let's say for example, I ask them to post something online. I try to ask them to create meme, for example, and then I try them to post it online, and then actually just recently I did this, and I am surprised that although I did not actually explicitly put onto my rubric what is expected among the students as to what kind of language they should use. But effective, I saw some effectiveness as well. when it comes to the way they utilize the language. Kasi yung ginamit nilang language for the presentations are multilingual. May presence of English language, Bicol, and then Filipino. And I find it, for those who are viewing that, they find it really effective as compared if they will just be using as, for example, English language only. Okay, I also ask them for impromptu delivery of speeches, evaluating speeches as well, and then research-based advocacy campaign materials. So, yun yung mga usually yung ginagawa ko. When it comes to if I'm going to wrap it up, the assessment practices actually focus on language knowledge skills, grammar, vocabulary, reading comprehension of pen and paper tests. It also tests the critical thinking skills at times, communication skills and soft skills as well. So basically, what are my assumptions when it comes to having this? Am I allowed to share now the assumptions? Just let me know.
Siguro antayin natin. We will try to have the others din, no? Pero talaga, ang nakuha ko sa'yo, JM, ang dami mong assessment. Ako napagod sa'yo mag-check ng output.
Usually, what
Okay. Okay, see, I think Ma'am She also has her own sharing of how she does assessments in when she teaches for purposive com as well, no?
Thank you.
Yes
Thank you,
po.
JM.
Yes po. Similar din po kay Sir JM. So I also ask students to perform a variety of tasks. So sometimes also it would involve presentations, like they would be presenting something in class, or videos also, like a short film, or I asked them to choose among different types of videos that they could do, like short films, mini documentary, or advocacy videos. So parang there's differentiation also. So depending on their own interests, kung ano po yung preference nila. And I allow them to use the local language for the video material as well. But I also ask them to include English subtitles also for the video, kasi if just so that, kasi yung subject po kasi is purposive communication in English, so that just in case may mag-question bakit sila nag-local language dun sa sa video, at least meron po silang English subtitles. But for the dialogue, they can use the local language as well. And then so it would also involve so if depende din po sa topic. So if in communication for work purposes, then they would be asked to write letters, write memos, or minutes. So kung ano yung hinihingi ng topic, so they would be asked to do the task as well that is relevant to that. But also, aside from those, when it comes to quizzes and exams, bumabalik pa rin dun sa objective types of tests na like multiple choice. And for the exams, actually, we are from the agreement in the college is, as much as possible, it should be multiple choice yung exams. But sometimes I don't strictly follow it also, like sometimes also include other test types. So mostly what I try to assess is how well students can express themselves in different situations, in different formats, like for since the syllabus of purposive communication also would involve communication in different settings. So for work, if it's for work purposes, or for in creating using multimedia, also. So there's that also, that variety. Although I would also agree po with Ma'am mamisi na the one challenge there is um, so if there is a variety of output, so that keeping up with it is also difficult. And also on the part of the students also po, it's also difficult. Like pag marami kang, napansin ko pa nung may one semester po kasi na mas madami yung authentic tasks na, for example, mag-letter writing sila, gagawa talaga sila ng tasks. And then comparing with the other semester na binawasan ko pa yung ganun na tasks. So yun sa semester na ang dami-dami nilang gawa. A lot of students got an incomplete grade because they also found it difficult to win. So yeah, that's also another challenge for I think. So balancing also the
Wow. Sa
the
proposal
yeah,
form talaga, incomplete
proposal.
sa
Yes.
dami ng
So
requirements.
I think that's also one.
Oh, okay. Si Ma'am Ruby, first time siyang nag-teach ngayon ng purposive
Yes
form. Can
po.
you share your experience also, ma'am?
Okay po. So thank you, Ma'am Macy. Yes, it's actually my first time to teach purposive communication. And the strategies that have been mentioned ni Sir JM at saka ni Ma'am Che, these are also the same strategies that I employ, and I could say that we employ sa aming department sa college in teaching purposive communication because we do follow a common syllabus, although there are of course parts of the syllabus that we parang implement in different ways in terms of lang atake lang naman namin, but yung assessment tasks kasi in the syllabus, there is like a minimum assessment task for each unit or chapter. And these are mainly a mix of authentic and performance tasks. However, just like Che and Sir JM, we also employ as well summative assessments, and these are like major and final examinations because that's how our grading system is structured, at least in our university. And departmental po yung aming midterms and finals, and the assessment is vetted naman by the department. So some parts of the exam are objective, multiple choice type. Some parts of it are like require, of course, the students to write an essay or comment on a particular multimodal message na may halong authentic assessment na rin siya. So since I think pare-pareho naman tayo ng strategies, we also do oral presentations, we use rubrics, we have writing tasks, we have multimodal and multimedia tasks which require the students to use content. Siguro ang idadagdag ko na lang in addition to what have already been mentioned by our classmates is we also do like self-assessment and peer assessment. So during the oral presentations, for instance, it's not only the teacher who is like rating or assessing the student, but also the students themselves have a copy of at least pwedeng simplified version of the assessment that's being used by the teacher. But it is a way by which at least a rubric or a checklist by which the students can give feedback to their peers. And then at the end of the session, they provide feedback, pwedeng oral feedback o kaya written formal feedback. And so these are also ways by which we can assess, kahit siguro hindi summative, but also formative in purposive communication. So we do assess a lot of things kasi medyo comprehensive yung coverage ng purposive communication, not just written communication, not just communication for academic purposes, but also for workplace purposes. Kaya really there is a need to be creative in the way that we design assessments in purposive communication. And it being a general education subject, sometimes we teach purposive communication to different like students from different fields with different purposes for why they are taking their own courses, for instance. So aside from different strategies in teaching them, designing equitable assessments also means that we take into consideration also yung levels nila, their language proficiency levels, as well as their interests and siguro their what do you call this, career or life goals in um, their college education. So, yun po. Thank you.
Wow, sige. Ayun pala, no? Ang dami talaga assessment natin sa isang uh, JEC, GE course, no? Ito naman si Sir Jem, 5 years ago daw yung last time niya na nagturo ng Percom. So, Sir, how would you now compare yung mga assessments na ginawa na shinare nila as against how you did it 5 years ago?
Mhm. So on my end, ma'am, or in my experience looking at the answers or hearing the answers of my co-panelists, very similar naman po yung mga assessments that I did 5 years ago and even pre-pandemic. I think during the pandemic, what I did really was to um somehow modify my assessments because definitely I had to do it through online. So I think that the last time that I taught for Portcom was 2020 or 2021, which is in our university we're still online, full online. So I had to modify my assessments that would be suitable for online learning. So I had to make use of um, digital tools like Kahoot or like quizzes and other digital tools. But essentially, looking at or hearing the answers of my co-panelists, very similar or same naman din po yung mga assessment na ginawa ko pre-pandemic and then during pandemic. So there's a combination or a mixture of traditional assessment, performance-based assessments, and technology-enhanced assessments. But I think one concept or probably one thing that I would like to also um make as a conversation is yung sinabi ni Sir JM na there are times as English teachers, and I think this is also my reality na pag minsan nandun pa rin yung remnant ng colonial past na yung monolingual orientation na sometimes kahit meron ka ng understanding, oh, these are multilingual students, but sometimes nagkakaroon ng slips na mali yun ah. It's not how it's pronounced in American English. It's not how it's pronounced in British English. So, sometimes nagkakaroon ng slips na ganun. And I think that's a remnant of the colonial past and even how we're taught by our previous professors or teachers na talagang nakapattern on the monolingual orientation. And that really reinforces yung view no on language that I mean the deficit or the monolithic view of English, and sometimes there's even penalization of using non-native norms no by some teachers. And I think on my part nung medyo bago pa ako dun sa teaching profession, not knowing any better, I even had my students sign a form that they agree that they are not allowed to use Tagalog or any other any other vernacular in the classroom. So I had them sign it, and then did they agree that there is not monetary um um penalties, pero siguro meron siyang bearing doon sa grading ko when it comes to recitation. So I think at that time ang feeling ko nung bago pa ako, ang galing kong teacher kasi ang tahimik ng classroom ko. Ang galing ko mag-classroom, ang galing ko sa management kasi ang tahimik, unlike other classrooms, ang iingay, ang gugulo, parang sa akin ang tatahimik ng mga estudyante ko. So, nung narinig ko tong si translanguaging, the leverage of mother tongue and the first language, I then on realized that I was actually being unfair to my students. Na instead of allowing my students na gamitin yung first language to be able to answer, kasi parang feeling ko noon, um, yung paggamit lang ng target language yung only way for them to learn the 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 target language. So pag gumamit sila ng Tagalog or any other language, there will be a penalty or hindi siya maganda no dun sa language learning experience ng student ko. So I think that's one thing that I would like to also reinforce no dun sa discussion din ni Sir JM, and also I think Ma'am Cha no dun kanina. Thank you po.
We are gathering reactions from the audience, I think. Ma'am Cheche, yes, please.
Yes, medyo curious lang ako. Salamat sa sharing na yan, Jem. Kasi usually ang sinishare sa atin is yung in terms of penalizing the students for using a different language in the English classroom, yung monetary nga, di ba? But in your case, para siyang contract, no? Na pinapasign mo pa
Yes,
yung mga
actually,
students.
ma'am, yes. Meron
Mm-mm.
akong para siyang contract and I even tell them that I will, though I do not actually do it, but I tell them that I will have it signed or probably notarized by an attorney so that it will have a legal something. So though I do not do it, pero parang ano
Oo,
lang
oo.
siya, parang
But saan ang
it's a
galing
binding
yung...
contract.
Kasi meron ka ng mind shift, di ba? Nakita na
Mhm.
natin yun. Pero saan ang galing yun? And kailan mo siya in-start na
Ah,
i-practice yung ganyan?
Parang yung mga simula po ako sa teaching profession, I think that was 2018 to 2020, mga ganyan po, before pre-pandemic. So I
Mhm.
have my students sign it na meron siyang classroom rules and regulation. So part of the rule is yung no vernaculars, no Tagalog inside my classroom. So when
And
I
when did you
joined,
stop?
yes po,
When did you stop doing it?
when I joined ASEL.
Ah, thank you. Pero particularly, ano yung nag-trigger sa'yo na, wait, hindi pala dapat ganun.
Actually, ma'am, yung sa trans languaging, na it's actually being unfair to my student na yun nga, hindi nila nagagamit yung 100% or yung full linguistic repertoire na I'm only allowing them to use 30%, parang ganun nung kanilang full linguistic repertoire if they're multilingual, or 50%. So parang yun po yung nag-trigger sa akin na mali pala ako, hindi pala tama yung ginagawa ko.
So, Jem, may nagbago sa'yo. Meron kang shift, di ba? May nagbago rin ba sa mga students?
Yes po, mas naging lively I think yung mga estudyante ko, mas naging engaged yung mga estudyante ko kasi yun nga po nung time na yun, akala ko I equate the silence in my classroom as being good in management, classroom management. Pero yun, later on I realized na hindi, kaya pala sila ang tahimik sa classroom ko kasi natatakot silang mag-English, natatakot silang baka ma-embarrass sila or ma-humiliate sila by having
Baka may
different
contract ka eh.
pronunciation. Yes po, in a contract.
Thank you so much. Yun lang. Thank you so much, Jem, for that.
Thank you, Ma'am Che. Ruby, you're also raising your hand. You want to add something?
Yes po, I also want to add that this one naman is really the purpose, the context of my current class in purposive communication. So earlier you mentioned that some of our assessment tasks include yung mga multimedia, multimodal materials. And I think in one activity, I asked my students to come up with like a short video of like their reflection about ethical communication. And we created the parang closed Facebook group in the like only the students in the class can access that. And I asked them to upload their videos. And sabi ko, if you're confident, you can make it a public video and just link the video or link the public video or I'm sorry, upload the link of the public video dun sa class Facebook group namin. If you're not so confident, i-upload nyo na lang dun sa closed group. Anyway, tayo-tayo lang naman yon. Just imagine na you're speaking in front of the class. And so parang no judgment, ganyan. One of my students did not upload his video. He sent it to me via PM. Sabi niya, parang even if I like made that parang instruction and we had a policy na there's no judgment, ganyan, everybody's here to learn. Parang because of like this idea that purposive communication is all about learning how to communicate, and we as usually, especially if you're an English teacher, there's this idea that, I mean, we usually equate good communication with the ability to sound native-like. And sabi niya, natatakot daw siya because very, very prominent yung kanyang non-native accent. So, really, dun sa PM sa akin nung bata, is sabi niya, ma'am, I really don't, I'm not comfortable. Meron, natitrigger yung anxiety ko. So, please forgive me. I can't really share this video to everyone else in the class. So, yun, siguro yung na-mention ni Sir JM kanina, really that even for us na, I mean, even if we are being exposed to ideas like translanguaging, and we're now slowly or gradually shifting to like a view of multilingual assessments, parang tama nga na may remnants pa rin nung ating monolingual biases, and these biases somehow show in our teaching as well as in our assessment. And just like yung example ni Sir JM and yung na-mention ko din kanina, these are disadvantaging and marginalizing our students, especially those na siguro they had not in our classes probably, but in earlier or previous experiences in language learning na they have been penalized just because they didn't sound like native or especially American English morphs. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Actually, naging curious tuloy ako because we have actually students here, undergrad students here who probably just took their purposive com a year, a sem ago. Can we like ask if there's anybody among them who would like to like share maybe one of their experiences in terms of assessment na parang maybe the best kind of assessment you remember during PERCOM or maybe the worst kind ever. Meron ba among the students, please? Pwede kayo mag-share at this point? Huwag kayo mahiya. From our undergrad students. I'm sure you just had your PERCOM not more than a year ago. Meron ba? Huwag kayo mahiya. Na siguro estudyante ni JM, ganun. Wala, nahihiya siguro sila. Pero it would have been, it would be nice sana to hear from you. Pero si Sir JM na lang daw ang sasagot. Go.
Okay, siguro nahihiya pa yung mga students natin, no? But anyway, in relation to what our classmates said about the kind of assessment, and maybe related also sa question mo, Ma'am Mace, about the kind. Kasi just lately, nag-provide ako ng online activity sa mga estudyante ko. And yung activity ko is actually about rewriting, that I entitled it One Message and Three Purposes. Tapos, sabi ko doon sa prompt ko, they have to rewrite the message 3 times and each with different communication purposes. So, isa could be on informative message, second would be persuasive message, and then another one is entertaining. So, yung prompt, yung sentence is, you need to inform your classmates that the online class schedule has been changed from 7:30 to 9 starting next week. So how are you going to rewrite that in different kinds of, for purposes? So, ang nangyari, there was this student na nag-chat sa akin. Maybe you can also answer the question. Sabi niya sa akin, Sir, pwede po Tagalog. That's the only question. So, ito yung naging dilemma ko actually, that while we are actually trying to let the students be equipped also with the communication skills using English language. Doon sa scenario na yun, medyo ako nagkaroon ng problema. Maybe I can also get answers from you. Yung naging reply ko lang doon actually was, please use academic language, just to be safe. And then that's it. I did not say any specific kind of language, like for example, Tagalog or Bicol or English. Just use academic language. I don't know if the answer is correct. Maybe we can actually put that in the conversation.
Okay. Is there such a thing as academic language pero in Bicol, di ba? That's, that's a nice question to ask. Or in pag Filipino ba, hindi na siya academic?
Yeah.
So those are questions that I think we need to ask. And I think that would also, sige, si Jen. Kasi parang papunta na rin tayo dun sa yung underlying assumptions natin, no? When we do these kinds of assessments, what underlying assumptions actually shape these assessments? Okay. Sige, Sir Jan.
Yes. So siguro lang dun sa sharing po ni Sir JM, what I think it's good na wala siyang specific language. Kaya lang siguro po the concern there lies in the rubrics. Baka mamaya the rubrics explicitly requires the students na English or whatever language. So probably it's all right, but we look also at the rubrics, sir. Baka yun po siguro yung pwedeng maging um um guidance no dun sa sagot natin. Na tingnan muna natin yung rubrics, baka
Yeah.
baka
Actually, sir,
explicit.
isa doon sa mga siguro guilty ako is that yung rubrics ko here is first, accuracy of message. Second, alignment of purpose. Next, creativity and engagement. Pero yung last ko, grammar and clarity. Siguro doon ako na-hit. Oo. So yun siguro yung I think something that make the students more confused about what kind of language they should be using in their output. Yun. Thank you, Sir Jem, for that. Siguro next time. Ano po?
There's always next sem. But yeah, so ano pa? Can you also have some more descriptions of like what you think are the underlying assumptions when you with your kind of assessments right now? Ano yung nakikita yung underlying assumptions or ideologies that actually shape the way that we give those assessments? Anybody else?
Go ahead,
Sige
ma'am.
po.
Ay, ma'am.
Yeah, related pa din po siya dun sa parang sinabi ni Sir JM kanina na parang accuracy, clarity come together, di ba? Parang there's the assumption that if your language is accurate, the message is clearer and the communication is more effective. There's also this idea kasi na parang English proficiency. By proficiency, we mean sounding right, using correct grammatical structures can lead to parang in one of our readings, we talked about how this has been equated with like job opportunities po. So maybe while we are teaching, we're also designing assessments in such a way that we think that in the future, this will be how they will be assessed. Like for instance, even in diba, in purposive communication, there is a communication for work or job purposes. And maybe when we are doing like a mock interview or looking at their resumes or listening in on their, say, meetings, and the way that they write their memoranda, etc., for that, at least for those contexts, we're already having this idea that this is how they're going to be assessed in the workplace. So, parang siguro we are equating or assuming that future assessments in the workplace will also rely heavily on like monolingual, near native like capacity or proficiency or competence in at least in the English language. So yun po.
Yeah, I was about to ask what you meant by, di ba, parang sinabi ka parang what sound right or sound proper. Anong ibig niyo sabihin nun?
I mean, siguro po yun, we were talking earlier about how we have somehow adopted American English as
so yun ang
default,
ano na.
parang standard for our use of language. So parang, especially for those who want to go into BPO, kasi minsan tinitingnan natin po yun. And then in these industries, at least, they value parang straight English, no codes. Well, sa kanila, parang I think they still use the term code switching. So parang the more the monolingual you sound, or the more monolingual your language production is, the better chances at getting a job. Parang ganun po.
So we do have a bias towards these kinds of interests, no, yung more Western. Yes, Sir Jan.
Yes po. And I think one thing that we also have to assess or probably look at is ourselves, or probably the teacher, because also the teacher is a language policy in itself. The things that we do inside the class is a policy. It may not be an explicit policy, but indeed it's also a policy. Like for example, po, one experience that I had, it's not even an English class. It's a prof ed class, or it's prof ed course, and it's a course orientation ko siya. Tapos sabi sa akin ng estudyante, nagtaas siya ng kamay, "Sir, are we allowed to speak in Tagalog inside your class?" And then I realized, baka nga kasi yung pino-project ko dun sa mga estudyante ko is they're not allowed kasi nag-i-English ako kahit siya ay prof ed class or kahit siya ay hindi English class. So probably this is also one thing that we have to assess or to look at ourselves as teachers. But in English classrooms, again, we have to be models. So siguro yun din yung isang part na titingnan natin ourselves as models and ourselves as language policy. So I think that's one thing. Thank you po.
Can I just add to what Luvi talked about earlier in relation to the BPO context? Because we have to remember that if we look at the BPO context, it will our students will really be required to be monolingual, because there are times when we have to be monolingual because the people that we talk to do not understand the other languages that we speak. So in that context, that should be okay. No? So again, if we're going to look at the design of purposive communication, it is highly context-based. So, because remember yung context ng, for example, the kind of PC that we teach, it may be different from the kind of PC that Macy teaches and the kind of PC that Louie teaches. Because remember, there are different iterations of PC depending on the context of the students. So, iba yan sa BPOs, iba yan sa mga engineering students, iba yan sa mga teacher ed, iba sa mga allied sciences and all. So what I'm saying is, again, in the teaching of English and communications in general, we look at the context. We do not say na, mali ito kasi nagmo-monolingual ako. But what if you are required to be monolingual? Even if you are multilingual, there are instances when we need to be monolingual because, again, only if the situation calls for it. So for example nga sa BPO, kung ang kausap naman nila, they're being trained to talk to Australians, and hindi naman maiintindihan pag nag-translanguage or nag-code switch sila, what is the point? So okay lang maging monolingual in that context. No? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so
Macy,
much for that.
can I,
Yeah.
Macy?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir.
Tops.
Yes, sorry, I cannot turn on my camera, huh? It's not really a response, but just a question for everybody also. Kasi I think so far, no, in terms of assumptions, the the how do you call this? The focus is on, let's say, how do we assess our students? The focus is on ano yung goals ng assessment. But not much about asan yung mga estudyante natin ngayon? Anong level nila? Kasi para sa akin, parang isn't that fundamental to education na we need to start from where they are. Alright? Kasi pag yung goal kaagad, kasi yung goal ng, let's say for example, ng at a certain level, right? Yung mga goals of particular module or particular course, doon siya nakapitch sa something ideal. And a lot of times, students may not necessarily be there yet or not yet even close to that particular ideal. So gusto ko lang tanungin, and how much is I mean, in your respective context, no? Kasi iba-ibang context. How much is the gap between where your students are at the moment and what is expected of them at that particular level?
Yes, that's a question I guess that we should be asking ourselves. And yun na nga, sometimes we look at yung syllabus natin, no, talagang parang fixed na siya. And so instead of really assessing first where the students are at, we are more concerned with being able to uh, finish the syllabus, for example, make sure that you're able to give them the content that we put in there. So yeah, can I ask my colleagues if you're actually able to do that, like really start where the students are? In your experience, is this something that you overlook or you also try to do, especially given our context na ang dami nating estudyante, no? Sige. Sir JM, maybe?
Yeah, for me on my end po, well, it should always be our practice to diagnose our students prior to presenting to them, for example, the um, course guide, etc. Okay, but yes, I think it's also very important na i-assess muna din kung anong klaseng mga estudyante tayo. But on our end, actually, since we are ako kasi mostly ang mga estudyante ko from dentistry, from sa Porcom sa dentistry, saan pa nga, mga BS Psychology. So I actually um, don't have so much problem naman when it comes to imposing the how they actually communicate. Kumbaga, um, madali na sa kanilang makipag-communicate actually. So, minsan nga mas magagaling pa sa akin yung mga estudyante ko when it comes sometimes to using multilingual kind of presentations or applying different technology. When it comes naman sa paggamit ng language and how effective they are in using the language, I think wala naman ako gaanong problema doon. Although it's actually a personal assessment, I actually don't have any standard way of diagnosing the students. But I don't know, maybe ako lang to, that as a teacher, I also have a way for me to gauge what kind of students I have. As compared when I was actually teaching in high school, talagang meron kaming standard diagnostic test. Okay, but this time, we don't actually do that anymore in college. I don't usually do that. Should we actually do that? Well,
Baka
I
may
just base,
na-marginalize na estudyante, hindi mo alam.
yeah. No, what I mean is, kumbaga, no, you might be, siguro na, yun nga, baka, you might be thinking that I am marginalizing this kind of students. What I mean is that, um, um, since mga college students na yung mga to, parang wala naman akong gaanong problema as to what kind or to the communication skills that they have, either be in English kind of language, I mean English language itself, as their form of or the kind of language that they use in communication, either in different kinds of languages. Parang wala naman po.
Gusto kong tanongin si Ma'am Che, kasi she's from community college. So, kumusta naman po yung konteksto niyo, Ma'am Che?
Yes po. Yeah, in our context po, since we're a community college, although hindi ko naman po generalize sa mga community colleges, but the kind of our students we really have a lot of students who still struggle significantly with the English language. Like in my classes, so far po. Although there are some students who are already pretty good, the majority really still struggle. Like even with constructing a complete sentence, for example, or kahit some even when it comes to yung verb structure, yung phrasal verbs given, they still struggle. So that's also one dilemma that we have, especially the English teachers, because um, although we are generally lenient to, to accommodate that difficulty, I think for one dilemma that I have personally is for formative assessment, for example, I parang mas there's more it's more relaxed. There's more accommodation given. But what about summative summative assessment na yung di ba, sa ano na po siya sa it's the at the end the totality. So that's where they really they really do not majority really struggle to meet yung ideal na hinihingi ng course ng purposive communication. So there's that parang, aside from kasi purposive communication is both about um, it's both it has content and it also has a language linguistic component. So um, they really there really is that struggle still. So it's a dilemma for us also.
Thank you. So iba rin, especially since multilingual tayo, might really be hard. It's a big dilemma for us kung anong uunahin natin yung kailangan nating tapusin as a teacher or talagang tulungan yung mga estudyante, especially as I said, madami ang estudyante natin sa isang class. So, Ma'am Cheche, please, yes.
Oh, I just want to share what we experienced also when we did the national training for purposive communication. And I think one thing we had to struggle with also was that concern of Dr. Tupas earlier na. So, what do we do when it comes to addressing the students' needs? Kasi nga, nakaset na, di ba? Binasa niyo yung course description kanina, nakaset na yung learning outcomes and all that. And we all know that in the context of teaching PC, it's a general education course, and so everyone is required to take that, and there are no prerequisites. So we get different kinds of students coming from different backgrounds, having different levels of proficiency, having different languages, having different experiences. And so so what do we do? I think balikan nga natin yung tanong ni Dr. Tupas kanina na so what happens, how do we begin, and how do we address how do we start or begin where the students are at given this context. Ang usually na i-share dun sa mga trainings that we had was really to create your own mechanisms, your tools, kasi assessment 'di ba? And na-mention ni JM kanina, walang standard diagnostic test unlike in high school. So maybe in your own context, you can create an assessment tool that will help you. Although I do not want to use the word diagnose kasi parang may sakit. Yung, so ano lang, parang just to assess, just to let you know, to inform you where the students are coming from. So maybe that's something that we can consider. Maybe we don't have the answer right now, but maybe something that we can keep in mind as we continue to teach. And medyo late na yan at this point kasi patapos na yung first sem for most of us. But maybe when we start the next sem and we begin to teach PC again, what can we do, no, to address that concern? Yun lang. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ma'am Cheche and Sir Pops, for those questions that the hard questions we have to ask as well, okay, and the sharing and additional information we got from you. And thank you also to my teammates for your honesty and deep reflection in answering the questions on your own classroom practices. Now, at this point, I will ask Ma'am Luby to kindly share with us the gist of the reading that we have chosen to guide us in answering the next question. So, Ma'am Luby, please.
So Macy's, as Macy introduced this earlier in before we proceeded to the first question, our springboard, an article for this discussion, an integrative literature review by Wang and Lee titled Issues, Challenges, and Future Directions for Multilingual Assessment. It's actually a thematic analysis of 31 articles on multilingual assessment published between 2003 to 2018. And the authors actually came up with the same themes that we were talking about earlier, like the practices in language assessment are still heavily a monolingual or reflect a monolingual bias, although and these have not kept up with the multilingual realities of society and the ideals of multilingual or multilingual teaching. So, however, I'd like to focus on the 5 approaches for multilingual assessments that were shared or that were identified from the articles that were reviewed by the Wang and Lee. And there are 5. The first one is we were talking about it earlier, like there's a need to adopt or to shift and or adopt sorry or to shift or have an ideological shift from monolingual norms in order to view multilinguals not as 2 monolinguals in one, but they must be seen as holistic individuals with integrated linguistic repertoire. And because of that, the second approach is the adoption of new ways of defining English proficiency beyond grammar and fluency. And we were talking earlier about integrating multimodal resources. So this approach emphasizes looking not only on their language production, but also in their intercultural competence, their use of multimodal approaches, as well as perspectives or integrate perspectives like world Englishes and English as a lingua franca, which highlight how we can use real-life interactional practices as well as diverse Englishes, which are all legitimate in their own right. And related na din po yun, yung third approach, which is trans-languaging-based assessment. The fourth approach na mentioned in the article is that of dynamic assessment. So this is different from traditional assessment or traditional static testing, because here teaching and testing can happen at the same time. So teachers provide feedback and students are supported while they perform the assessment task. And through this, they can understand how to improve and focus on their own learning as well as their growth. And finally, the article talks about qualitative research as a way by which we can improve our assessment practice. So Wang and Lee describe ethnographic methods to connect assessment with classroom practices, such as conducting interviews, observations in the classroom, as well as assessing classroom artifacts that can improve assessment practices. So that's the gist of the 5 approaches mentioned in the article by Wang and
Thank you so much, Ms. Ruby. And with all that in mind, let's now try to answer the second question. Okay. How can we design purposive communication assessments that align with real-world language use while still supporting students' English learning goals? Can I call Sir Jem? Would you like to go first?
Yes po. So, in order for us to be able to design a purposive communication assessment that aligns with real-world language use and also ultimately become an equitable assessment, one way is to create a translanguaging based assessment. So, doon sa translanguaging based assessment, pwede po natin doon gawin is to have a translation of our assessment. So for example, if you're using or if you're going to use tests or probably multiple choice test, then you can have a translation of the questions. So for example, in our context, it can be English and then Tagalog, or the use of your rubrics. You can also translate it in the languages of your students, so English and then Tagalog and then other local language. Also, there was a study who did this kind of assessment in, I think that was in South Africa, and they found out essentially that it is really helpful for the multilingual students. But what was surprising in that study is that even for English speaking students, they found the translation helpful. So it doesn't really, or I mean, it does not only support multilingual speakers of English, but also in that study, it highlights that it also supports monolingual speakers of English. Uh, just one thing that I think we have to understand, that when we use translanguage or probably pedagogical translanguaging, it has to be deliberate, it has to be planned, and it has to be intentional. And this was also articulated earlier in the previous sessions, that it's not dahil gusto ko lang or biglaan na sige magta-trans language ako ngayon kasi wala, bet ko lang, or trip ko lang, no. So it has to be planned, it has to be deliberate on the part of the teacher. And aside from that, we also have to understand, as also mentioned by Sir Tupas, now we have to know the level, or the current realities of our students. And this was also posited by Dr. Isabel Martin in one of her articles, that she mentioned that in the Philippines, there's actually a presence of the three concentric circles. If you remember in Bracashurus, three concentric circles, the inner circle, the outer circle, and then the expanding circle. That in the Philippines is actually present, those three circles. You have the inner circle, those that come from the elites, where English is their mother tongue, and then those that come from the outer circle, who has access to the English language, and then yung mga nasa expanding na completely wala talaga silang access to the English language. So I think that is also something that we have to factor in when we create our assessments, to know the level of our students, the access that they have when it comes to the English language, because ultimately that would help us in deciding how to make sure our assessments are equitable for all of our students.
Thank you. Sino pa ang gustong dumagdag doon sa sinabi ni Sir John? Ma'am Ruby?
Yes po. Yeah, parang na-mention na ni Sir Jem lahat po. And yeah, I think, I would siguro, I'd just like to add na, yun nga, we still practice the best practices that we have, and allow our students to utilize all the resources, not just multilingual, but also like multimedia resources at their disposal. And I was actually one of the reasons, parang nakikinig lang ako kay Sir Jem. I was reflecting na dun sa comment ni Dr. Tupas earlier, that yes, in our desire siguro to address yung mga competencies na naka-specify for effective communication, we usually just have parang a one size fits all approach na to assessing purposive communication. I mean, our students in purposive communication. So I think for designing assessments here is yon, we need to start really where our students are, and especially contextualize it as well as I mentioned, in terms of their language learning goals. because the goals of students in one field may not be the same, or not really may not, but are not the same with those in another. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. Balikan ko rin yung konteksto ni Miss Che, no? Yun na nga, like in your case, because you have more students, for instance, who are struggling at the start. So, how would you define what a purposive communicator would be in your context? And so, what would you do about assessing your kind of students?
Yeah, in my case po, uh, I I think when it comes to rubrics, for example, where students will be assessed, um, we just give more weight towards um, content as well as how effectively they were able to get it across. So, for example, if they were doing a presentation, so it doesn't matter if they code switch, they use local languages there um, uh, in parts of the presentation, uh, as long as they were able to express what they wanted to express in the presentation. So we also employ translanguaging to some extent as well. Although in um I think our context is really kind of far dun sa um standard or ideal um, concept of what a purposive communicator is, what an effective communicator is. So, yun po yung sa amin.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, um, translanguaging is one of the way, parang yun ang naririnig ko ngayon na ano, no, our way really of tackling our context na multilingual tayo. How about Sir JM? Halimbawa, next sem, anong plano mong gawin na
Yeah.
changes maybe in your assessment practices?
Actually, yes, ma'am. Actually, yung sinabi ni Dr. Tupas is actually an eye-opener also. That, we have to also ask ourselves, what kind of students do we have? And that actually highlights also one of the quotations that I would like also to quote in our reading, based from Oski 1989, that one cannot develop sound tests without a method of defining what it means to know a language. And for until you have decided what you are measuring, you cannot claim to have measured it. And so this particular statement is somewhat maybe one of the things that strikes me the most, because here we are trying to make sure, kasi dito naman sa educational sector, we should always prioritize our students as our major clientele. So I think doon muna siguro ako magpo-focus sa sa, sa mga estudyante ko. Anong klaseng estudyante meron ako? Okay? And what kind of teacher am I also? Okay? What kind of teacher am I in the classroom, and what kind of students do I have? What specific strategies can be we can adopt to address this learning or learner's unique language repertoire. So I also would like to highlight that one of the siguro pwede nating paghugutan din, isa sa mga strategies na meron tayo doon kay Wang and Lee 2020 na article is yung confusion kind of matrix. Okay? Isa rin itong magandang strategy that confusion matrix is actually refers to the way where multilingual were assessed twice using comparable tests. So this confusion matrix is actually kind of tool that we can use. Yung parang katulad nung senior ni Sir Jem kanina, that we try to also translate one particular material to a different language wherein the students actually use. okay, as their mother tongue, for example, or their local language, and try to compare as to what kind or how do these students perform in these different kind of languages na ginagamit natin. Okay, this actually addresses some ideas that we assess not just the assessment that we're doing is not only an assessment of learning, but also an assessment for learning. Okay? Siguro yun dun muna po ako magsisimula kung paano ko i-assess and after that probably proper setting of norms and standards inside the classroom. Maybe we can try to I can try for myself to at least tanggalin na yung ideology that there is only one dominant language or standard kind of speaking the language or English language. It could I can also try to provide more options to students as to how they can use their diverse languages. Provide not just one activity but different activities as well. Actually ginagawa ko na rin siya ngayon paunti-unti that my students are actually trying to participate. Actually sinare ko yun sa yung Ma'am Macy, yung isang video na gumawa ng memes, video memes yung mga estudyante and you know it's more communicative as compared if they will just only use a monolingual kind of language, for example English alone. For me, it helps them to be more expressive and be confident, okay, in delivering what they want to deliver to their viewers, for example. Okay, ano pa? Okay, I would like also to emphasize that maybe in my next semester, I also need to emphasize that purposive communication should be defined as the inclusion of language plurality. That hindi lang talaga English alone ang dapat natin ginagamit. That we can also allow the students to speak their own comfortable language. That would be all.
Okay, thank you so
Macy?
much. Yes, Sir Tops.
Yeah, so yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm just coming in because I think there is a private message to me sa comments na that I would like to share. I won't mention the name, of course. But that I think is also relevant kasi to the discussion now, especially doon sa mga explanations ng team ninyo. Because I think the idea here is sa mga estudyante, ginagamit niya yung translanguaging, especially in oral communication, especially in getting them involved in group discussions and similar stuff as well, in scaffolding learning. But when it comes to, let's say, writing for academic purposes, I think the wording here is I do not allow them to use anything else other than English. So ang tanong, which is rightly that was also meant to me, was is this a form of injustice? Right? So is it a form in injustice if I say I tell them I do not allow them to use other languages other than English? Ang sagot ko, which actually wrote also, but I think it is something that is very relevant to everybody. Kaya nga yung sinabi kanina ni JM, no, I mean at the end of the day, communication is purposive, even if it's not really purposive communication that you're teaching, di ba? I mean, all communication is purposive. And so, para sa akin, it is just, for example, if your purpose is, for example, for writing for a journal, or writing for a particular, platform where English is expected, then it is just right that you work towards that, in the context of English. Pero ang sabi ko, probably it's in the way you frame it, kasi it sounds like you are policing language use. Why not just simply allow them to actually see, hindi lang I'm not allowing them, but ask them, what do you think is the appropriate way of writing for this particular purpose? So in that case, they think through what they're writing, hindi lang sa dahil ayaw ni ma'am, ayaw ni sir, 'di ba? Kundi they are thinking critically about the fact that okay, so itong konteksto na to pwede akong kailangan ko mag-Ingles kasi ang goal dito is to publish in this English medium context or journal more specifically or something like that. Pero if you allow, multiple genres as well for them to engage in the classroom, then hindi ka gumagawa ng hierarchies of genres na, ay, ito, pinaka-importante dito kasi ito talaga dapat yung gawin nila, at itong mga multilingual, pwede nilang gawin pero hindi dito lang, 'di ba? So I guess it's really more about not it's about, okay, what should they be doing, what should they be using in this particular context, ano yung purpose, without necessarily telling them this is a better way of doing it. So because the moment we frame it that way, then people then start beginning to think na, sige, you are allowing me to do multilingual stuff, but this is not as important as doing it in English only. Yun ang problema. So that is where the injustice comes from. It's not in actually getting them to write in English. So yun lang. So I was just responding kasi I thought it's something that's relevant for everybody.
Yes, sir, indeed. Kasi, while we are talking about all of these things, talagang ang dami din ng questions about, well, it depends on the context din talaga ng estudyante. What is it that they really need to learn? Like, what course are they enrolled in, for example? So, ano yung kailangan nila given yung gusto nilang trabaho, for example, later on, no? So sinabi nga natin na parang uh, if a person doesn't really plan on getting a job abroad, for example, or they just want to have a job that doesn't really need that kind of English communication skills, so bakit natin pipilitin din, okay? So so many insights na nakukuha natin, especially from Sid, from Sir Tops, from Cheche. And ang nakikita ko so far is that really we need to see where our students are at, what they need to learn, okay, given their context, given the subjects or the course, okay, the course that they are enrolled in, okay, what tools they have now, what languages they know, okay, and what they need in the profession that they are wanting to have, okay? So, like para saan, okay? Anong trabaho ang tinutumbok nila? What kind of English do you need there, or do they even need English at all? Okay, which has something to do with what Ma'am Cheche also explained earlier. And so, given this, yung mga plano natin, or like the what we want to happen now in our as we teach purposive comm, we also have to think of we have like ideas on how we might improve assessment, etc. Kaya lang, we have also to face realities, okay, that we have in our classroom. And so we will ask now the next question. What challenges do teachers face when implementing equitable assessments for multilingual learners? Or if we're just planning pa lang, like we've been sharing, or like we plan to do next time, to implement these kinds of assessments for multilingual learners, what challenges do you think we will have to grapple with and overcome? Sino unang sasagot? Si Ma'am Che?
Okay, yes. Well, I think the biggest challenge for us is still when it comes to the prevailing ideologies. So we're still at the phase where this awareness that we also have to consider multilingual learners is something that is fairly new. So although there may be some of us who already do that before, so this is still a continuing conversation, just like what we're doing now. So one, we still when it comes to our institutions maybe, or the general um, context, uh, the monolingual perspective still is kind of more dominant. So if we're one difficulty is even if we try, or when we try to implement equitable assessment for multilingual learners, we still have to do that within institutions maybe where it hindi pa siya hindi pa open doon. So because of ideologies that still prevail. So for um, and also another thing is um, the way that we assess, for example, may still also be um, largely guided by prescribed assessment frameworks in our institutions also. And there may be misconceptions still about English and lingering um, tendencies or habits also uh, as we continue. Like for example, if in when it comes to translanguaging, in our institution, for example, we have several teachers, uh, English teachers na they practice translanguaging in the classroom. So minsan shift into the local language in order to allow the learners to um, understand better. And then sometimes we would still hear from colleagues or sometimes even heads na, for example, na pumasok sila or napadaan sa classroom and then sabi, "Hey, English teacher ka, bakit ka nagsasalita ng Bicol or nagtatagalog sa klase?" So parang there's still that. So ang tingin nila sa ganun is if English teacher ka tapos hindi ka straight magturo ng English uh, the entire session, they see you as parang hindi ka magaling na English teacher, parang hindi mo kaya mag-straight. Even though um, the reason is because we are trying to accommodate or make it uh, to accommodate our learners to make it to para ilapit sa kanila yung material also. So yun, there's still that difference between how we see English and how um, our larger institutions may see English also. And I think uh, as we are beginning to be more aware of this, um, although in terms of how we view propulsive communication or English, I think kailangan pa din po natin ng more like concrete um, measures, like for example, like um, me, for example, even though I'm already aware of this, I still have that big part of me that's not sure about what do I actually do with this? How do I like concretely um, adopt this in the classroom in concrete ways? So yung sa strategies, what in specific strategies, um, it's still something that is in the works.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. Actually, while you were sharing, I was also remembering some things about translanguaging that we might really want to think about also. Kasi, first and foremost, I feel you na parang, you're just one, okay, in the entire Calabanga Community College, for example, na nag-seed. Tapos, pagbalik mo ng college, ikaw lang nakakaintindi ng ginagawa mo. That is something hard. Okay? Sabi ko nga before, sabi ko kay Sir JM na parang, finally may kausap na ako tungkol sa mga alam ko because at least there are two of us already who are trying to do the things that we are learning from seed. But at the same time, we might also want to be careful about just calling what we're doing as translanguaging. Kasi I had, for example, an advisee. Parang she tried to do some kind of study on translanguaging. Pero yung understanding lang parang nag-code switching ka lang sa classroom mo, nagka-translanguage ka na. But I think as a pedagogical tool, it has to be more deliberate than that, no? Na kailangan din you plan it out how you're going to use the knowledge of languages that your students know to their advantage so that you can improve on their communication skills. So yun lang din ang gusto ko lang masabi din because depending on how or what we really know about trans language, and we might also not really be effective in the way that we use this. Earlier, yun din yung sharing ni Sir Jem, plus of course yung ideas niya on like how to design assessments in different languages perhaps. So Sir Jem, with all the things that you have shared earlier on how you might design assessments, what challenge do you see that you might have to face if you try to implement this?
Okay. Thank you so much, Ma'am Macy. So I think first and foremost, yung nabanggit din po no, ni Ma'am She talaga na it's the ideology of not only the teachers but probably also of the administrators. Kasi yun nga yung halimbawa na napansin or nakita na nagtatagalog or other language aside from English dun sa classroom, there is that um um parang feeling na hindi siya magaling na English teacher kasi nagtatagalog siya without even understanding that we do this for our students' sake, no? So we do this for the purpose of maintindihan ng mga estudyante yung topic or yung concept. But aside from the ideology and the belief no of the teachers and the administrators, I think one challenge when it comes to implementing equitable assessment would be yung uh, medyo time consuming I think talaga yung mga performance based assessments, like for example as compared to providing a quiz or providing a multiple choice type of test. Mas matagal i-conduct or i-administer yung performance based, like for example if you ask your students to deliver a speech, so syempre hindi naman pwedeng sabay-sabay silang halimbawa, impromptu speech, no? So, 10 agad sa isang ano, so hindi naman. So, isa-isa pa rin silang nagde-deliver nung kanilang prepared, no, na speech. So, I think that's one challenge that I experienced before when I taught purposive communication, na it's actually mas matagal or time consuming to administer those kinds of assessments as compared to the objective type, like a quiz or a multiple choice type of test.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to share some question?
Siguro, Ma'am May.
Hindi natin sige. Go.
Si Ma'am May. Sige. Sino ba? Okay, for me, siguro I can summarize it sa acronym na CSP. The time, support, and then policy. Unang-una yung time kasi we need to make a lot of, our resources, yung oras natin kakainin sa pag-prepare ng mga materials, for example. Another thing, yung ngayon we're trying, actually with Ma'am Macy, we're trying to also, after probably of the accreditation that we're having, we can try to revisit our curriculum, that we try actually to frame it as something na would address multilingualism. We're actually asking support also from Dr. Tupas about this and Ma'am Beth. And yun, maraming oras ang gugugulin, ang kakainin. So we as teachers, ang dami nating trabaho. So isa yun sa magiging challenge natin. We have lots of research, other instructional deliveries na kailangan gawin. So yun, unang-una yung oras. Pangalawa yung support. You've mentioned already something about this kanina, Ma'am Mace, and na let's say for example in the case of Ma'am Te, na mag-isa lang siya sa college na, that actually try to reopen her mind about these things. Paano pag nagsalita ka sa English class mo, you try to trans language or code speech, how will you be judged by these people around you? Naalala ko din dati nung nagtuturo ako sa high school, that every time may dumadaan na supervisor or my department chair, nilalakasan ko yung boses ko. Kunwari, ang galing-galing ko mag-English. So that's actually kind of practice na we just don't do this because we just want to impress others. Okay? Because hindi pa rin nawawala din yung mentality na pag magaling mag-English, matalino, gano'n. Yun. Isa pa yung mga policies. I think we also need to revisit the policies because right now, we're also with the critical paper that we're writing also, we try also to revisit the CMO 17 on English language. And then it shows na talagang even the policy for the English language on that particular CMO is really directing us to have a kind of monolithic kind of, you know, of curriculum. So isa yun sa mga bagay na kailangan natin tutunan. So lahat-lahat ng to, um, maraming trabahong gagawin. Yun po.
So true. CMO 24, 27, ay, 2017. Yeah, true. Sige. May dadagdag pa? Ma'am Luby, may dadagdag ka ba?
No, I have no further ano pa to add to the challenges. I think nag-mention na rin po sila sir and ma'am ng mga like strategies to address these challenges po. And I do agree that we have institutional, personal, linguistic, etc. Challenges in implementing equitable assessments.
Okay, so ikaw na lang ng Luby yung mag-sagot ko na at maunang magsagot ng next question, tuloy. Sabi nga natin kagabi, no? Tanong natin, sagot natin. So, considering from these challenges faced, okay, what institutional or classroom-based strategies can help address these challenges? Sige, Ma'am
Sige
Luby.
po. Sige po. So, when we discuss challenges, one of the dominant themes po ng usapan natin is the idea that some of the teachers are hindi naman sa not prepared, but maybe hindi pa sila, or some of our colleagues might not have been, or might have been become too comfortable with our traditional way of looking at language proficiency and communicative competence. So, yun po, yung na-mention kanina, we might need or we do need to institutions need to invest in systematic capacity building for our language teachers for siguro to disengage from, from our biases na absorb natin siguro from our own experiences in education as well as yung the way that we were taught as well. Second po siguro aside from capacity building, not just on pedagogy or teaching in general, but really on more on translanguaging, equitable assessments, multilingual assessments. I also think that we also need to do more research. Na-mention din po ito ni Wang and Lee na in terms of multilingual assessments, marami sa K-12 levels, pero at least sa atin, siguro yung classroom-based research on what really works in terms of assessing our purposive learners in purposive communication, and that would start with yung pinag-usapan po natin kanina na having like a structured diagnostic tasks or assessments at the start so that we know where our students are in at their level, their interests, at least para alam natin what kind of assessments we could derive or we could devise or design for them po. So that's for the institution as well as for the teachers. Thank you po.
Luby, meron bang may idadagdag pa? Any of you? Sir Jen, go ahead, please.
Okay po. So I think aside from the teachers na need din ng capacity building or ng training, I think also the administrators have to be reoriented on this on these concepts, kasi yun nga po sila yung gumagawa pag kalimitan no, ng policy at least in the institution. So for teachers, we have our own policies inside our classrooms, pero yung dun sa institution level, sila po yung usually na gumagawa. So I think they have to be also part of of trainings and conversations like this, na at least they are also reoriented on what works best when it comes to multilingual learners, like in our context.
Yes, thank you so much. Ma'am Cheche.
Yes, can I just share to address yung shinare ni Jem kanina, yung concern ni Jem or si GM, na the administrators are supposed to be more aware of these practices na rin, mga changes, ano. At least sa DepEd, meron ng ginagawang ganyan. I'm not sure if you've heard of what we've been doing, partnering with NEAP, di ba, and DepEd. So we're doing that. Ang kulang siguro is sa higher ed, and this is your context. So if you can initiate something and tutulungan namin kayo ni Dr. Tupas, maybe we can, kasi ito nagawa na at least ni Macy in her own institution, maybe you might want to help for us to help you introduce these concepts and engage your administrators in a conversation like this. If we can help, you just have to let us know para naman we also extend the conversation, hindi lang dito sa atin. So you let us know and we're willing to help.
Can I also come in for
Yes.
that? Yes, kasi I mean, this is the basically third session. No? There are three sessions today since 2 a.m. in the morning, just to let you know.
From your end. Oh.
Tapos I have to leave because I have a 3-hour PhD with PUP. Um, Naisip ko nga kasi ngayon, I mean, three brilliant sessions, to be honest. I mean, you couldn't ask for better conversations like this one that we have. Since the very first session kanina, it has been really truly a joy to listen to everybody. And I was thinking baka pwede tayong hindi not necessarily to institutionalize it yet kasi mahirap din sometimes to institutionalize it, but to continue this group, our group, like a multilingual assessment group, for example, para merong isa sa inyo na I want to do something for my institution, sinong pwede? Kasi definitely I can guarantee you everybody that has been part of the sessions since the very first since 2 a.m. can actually be part of a panel. And siguro baka in a much larger sense, baka we might need to have this as some kind of like, a conference or a seminar series, no? That will be open to everybody. At walang academic presentations, yung mga slides na yan na nakaka-boring. Mga ganitong discussions, kasi ang daming na-address na mga issues na mga ganito na pwedeng gawin. And therefore, go beyond the language teachers, go beyond the English language teachers. I think kami ni Dr. Suarez, we have always been talking about this eh. Kaya nga yung social linguistics namin, minsan social linguistics for education or for educators. Kasi hindi lang dapat English education din na to eh. We're just starting now because we need to start from ourselves, right? Pero in the end, this is really, I agree, this is really for everybody. So social linguistics must be for everybody. Kasi nga language is core of anything. Kahit sa math yan, kahit sa science, language is still part of the whole thing. And how we deal with it will also have an implication for learning. Learning math, learning science, and so on. So if we have educators who are open, who understand the multilingual dimensions of teaching, I think we'll have a much better way. Wag mo na dun sa itaas sa policy kasi puro lahat mga walang kwentang policy makers doon sa itaas. But if we can do things on the ground like what we are doing now, I'm sure all of you will be or are already in positions of power, relative power in your certain institutions. We start from there, all right? And as sabi nga ni Dr. Suarez, we can definitely be part of the whole. I mean, we'll definitely support it, right? But as what I said, yung grupo natin is already a good starting point. All right? Anyone but anyone can be part of a panel. So thank you. Maraming salamat to you all. I mean, I really said, I really meant it when I say the 3 sessions have been
Yes.
truly a great, a brilliant 3 sessions.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Tupas. And I agree. I couldn't agree more. That's why with the help of with everybody's permission, kasi I think some of the your classmates from the yung webinars earlier today are here. We will keep, I hope that we can keep the GC alive. Baka pwede tayong, oo, wag tayong mag-leave, wag nating iwanan, and then we continue the conversation from here. Okay? Sige, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ma'am Chacha and Sir Pops. What do you know? It's already 5:22. Much as we would like for this conversation to go on and on until we flesh out all these issues and we do and have solutions to these things, we do have to end our forum at by 5:30 p.m. No, and we still have some wrapping up to do. And by the way, before I forget, may I reiterate lang that we will be providing you with the certificates of participation for joining this afternoon session. So kindly make sure you fill out the registration form, or maybe call it attendance sheet, shared in the chat box. It contains also an evaluation of this afternoon's activity. No? Okay. At this point, may I ask also if our mentors, Dr. Cheche and Dr. Wani, have some final words that they might want still to give us?
Wala naman. I'm just really hoping that we keep our group together and we move forward together. Kasi if we consolidate our efforts and we consolidate our initiatives, mas malakas yung boses natin kesa sa kung isa-isa tayo. All right. And that's exactly the one justification for putting us together in groups and sessions and seminars like this one. Kasi you probably don't know that you can do it. So everybody can do it, definitely, because you're experts of your own context as well. I think that's something that needs to be emphasized. No one is a better expert than another. All right, everyone is an expert of their own, from their own institution and their own classroom, and we speak from that. Kaso lang, medyo matatakot tayo kung mag-isa lang tayo. So I think we need to keep this together, and we really mean it that that we need to have some kind of a multilingual assessment group, all right, that will, somehow disseminate and encourage people to, ask questions and have conversations like this one in their respective institutions as well. So yun lang. And I'll see you guys around, not just in chat, but hopefully in more panels in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so
So
much,
with that, we
Pops.
look forward to more webinars like this with you. Please take the initiative and rest assured that we will support you. We will be part of whatever you plan to do.
Thank you
Congratulations.
so much. Thank you
Thanks
so
po,
much, Ma'am
Doc.
Cheche. Thank you. Can you share, Sir JM, yung ano natin, yung QR code? Meron ba? Di ba kaya?
Kayo lang yung hindi
Ah,
naghingi ng picture, ha? Wala kayong photo.
ay, wait lang,
Dapat may
magpa-picture
group
tayo, sir.
picture. Oo.
Alis ka na ba, sir? Mag-picture muna tayo before
Yeah,
mag-closing si
pero
Ma'am
pero
Ruby.
I cannot turn on my camera kasi I'm at the 2 a.m. state at the moment. So
Yeah.
Wow. Hindi ka talaga, sir, naka-ano pa, naka-get ready for work. Okay. Sige,
Maybe we can
shall we
have our,
have
our picture muna kasi si Dr.
photo op
Tupas has
muna
another
tayo?
class
Opo,
after
yun na
this.
nga. Opo, sige, sige. Thank you.
Sige.
Anas muna ng screen share, Sir JM. Thank you.
And ako naman on behalf of ASELT, everyone, please help me in expressing our gratitude to Dr. Tupas. As always. Thank you so much, Topsy.
oh,
Sa
thank you.
ulitin.
Walang
Thank you
anuman.
so much,
Sige.
Sir
Tapos na ba? Tapos na yung picture kasi alis na
Di
ako.
pa. Ayan. Magpipicture pa lang.
Oh, sige, go.
Okay. Picture, please.
Sir JM. Sabi pag okay na.
Okay na?
Wait lang po, i-send ko. Kasi ano lang ako.
Okay, sige. 1, 2, 3. I'm trying. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Okay. Meron na. Ito po. Okay. Thank you so much, Tops.
All
Dr.
right. Sige,
Tops,
bye-bye.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so
Thank you
much
po.
again. Okay, thank
congratulations
you.
everyone.
Thank you so
Ang
much.
galing-galing
So,
niyo lahat, ha?
thank
From
you
the
so
very first
much.
this
Miss Ruby,
morning.
may sasabi ka pa. Thank you, ma'am. Salamat, salamat. Ma'am Ruby, may I have some last few words or
Okay.
remind.
Sige lang,
Okay
please.
po. Okay po. So for just to synthesize our discussion for this afternoon po, today we talked about equitable assessments for multilingual learners of purposive communication. Sir JM, pa-share na lang po ng slides. Nakalimutan ko yata isasabihin ko. And I just want to synthesize by using the acronym SEED. Let us make our assessments, not just in purposive communication. SEED first is systematic, um, planned, deliberate, purposeful, and then the other E would be equitable. So we talked about assessing where our learners are so that we can design the best assessments for them. The other E being evidence-based. I was talking about research earlier, and we also use our assessments in order to structure our teaching and further assessments. And finally, D for diverse. We make use of multilingual assessment tools, multimodal formats, so that our students can use all the resources that they have. Well, we also acknowledge some limitations in doing multilingual assessments for purposive communication, such as the pervasive monolingual bias, the lack of institutional support, as well as policies from our higher ups. We were able to identify strategies such as capacity building, revisiting our institutional policies. We were talking about involving TRED and the other policymakers earlier, but we agree that the best way to move forward with what we learned in SEED 2.0 is to collaborate and continue working with each other to advocate for just, equitable, and intelligent assessments that will not only move our own practice forward, but really empower our learners for for their future. So yun po, on behalf of Group 3, thank you for joining us this afternoon. We thank, of course, Dr. Cheche Suarez and Dr. Ruani Tupas for the mentorship and the opportunity that SEED 2.0 has provided to all of us. Marami pong salamat and God bless.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Ruby. So this ends our forum this afternoon. Again, kindly fill out the evaluation and attendance sheet. And again, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Bye-bye
Thank
po.
you, Ma'am Cheche.
5:30
Thank
talaga,
you.
sakto. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you po.